So, I wanted to make a necromancer in Diablo 4. Those bold enough to cross the line of sin for deeper knowledge, who will follow an unquenchable yearning born of blood and bone. Oh, it's already level 72. How did that happen? Let's take a look at how to become this powerful dark mage type of character, the true sorcerer in the game. The necromancer that just blows up everything and provides you a very smooth and fast leveling experience in Diablo 4. Now, most people at this point in time know about the bonespear necromancer build, which is a truly powerful build. But in a lot of the clips that you see is for when you have every piece together and are like level 100. Today we're going to go over the leveling process for a bonespear necro and how to be powerful while leveling as well at any point in time really. So this video is mostly focused on level 1 to 70 and you unlocking world tier 4. You can have a great time using this build if you want to level a necro right now or in the new season, which starts next week or so. The leveling strategy and build in this video functions very well regardless of gear, and that is also the goal of this video, to make a build that you can level with in any scenario really, whether it's the new season with the changes or right now. I will make a perfected endgame version in season 1, but till that point you have the leveling guide so you can get started. Why this is a great leveling build is because it's easy, it clears fast, it doesn't require any uniques or hard to get aspects to really start popping off with, and what bonespear necro can kinda struggle with while leveling is essence regeneration, early on especially, but I have some very good solutions for that as well that I will show you in this video. So let's start off with level 1 to level 32. In these leveling brackets, you want to fully focus on getting your bonespear maxed out so it starts pumping. We then also take bone splinter as our basic attack to help us out with our damage output. Damage wise, with a maxed out bonespear, you're set as a necro early on, you just kill everything. Bonespear has a nice range to it and essentially just pierces everything in front of you, which lets you clear quite fast even early on. And don't worry about gear or aspects whatsoever in this bracket, it's futile as you replace everything anyways every few seconds or so. The only thing that can get annoying in this part of the leveling process is essence regeneration, but thankfully we have two easy solutions to that problem, because you can get corpse explosion quite early on and you can get the passive grim harvest quite early on as well in the skill tree, which helps out tremendously early on with your essence. It gives you 6 essence every time you pop a corpse, and as you see in this clip, that can really mean that you refill your essence all the way to the top quite fast. Later on this passive falls off and we get better options for essence regeneration, but for these levels definitely take it, get 3 points in it. And I will also, by the way, go fully over the skill tree and leveling strategy in the second half of the video. We can also then get Iron Maiden somewhere when we get around to like level 20, which is absolutely amazing for essence regeneration as well, since it gives you 5 essence for every enemy you curse with it. So these two abilities and the associated passives set us up nicely in terms of essence regeneration early on, and we both want to get them. Then also take corpse tendrils for some CC and to do nice combos with it, as it lines up your enemies perfectly for your bonespear with it. You can do a really juicy essence regeneration combo with corpse tendrils into Iron Maiden into a bonespear, so keep this combo in mind, it will be very useful early on. Then finally take Bone Storm as your ultimate to make you clear even faster. Reason why I divided the leveling into these different brackets, and in this case from level 1 to level 32, is because you can sacrifice Iron Golems at level 32, which is also the last sacrifice that you can unlock, and it's a really good sacrifice as it increases our critical strike damage. For the other two sacrifices, we then want to sacrifice Skirmishes for that critical strike chance and Shadow Mages for extra essence. All three sacrifices are very relevant for this build and are nice to have, and early on they are really good as well. For level 32 to like level 50, somewhere in this part of your leveling adventure, you probably will unlock world tier 3, so that means better loot and XP, and you can keep leveling with the skills I mentioned really smoothly. At these stages I would also definitely start getting some aspects. Some staples that any bonespear necro wants to run are the aspect of splintering. In particular, it's the bonespear's unique aspect in the game, and it's incredibly good. The good news is that you can get it from the Codex of Power as well, so you just need to complete a dungeon for it to get it. It's as easy as that really, and that dungeon is not in a high level zone either. Put it on your weapon to get that juicy 100% bonus. I would recommend getting a two-handed sword for your weapon, as it gives us a bunch of extra crit strike damage, get high DPS on it, and get stats like vulnerable damage and critical strike damage on the stats, and you will have a nice sword to level with going forwards. And then the other 3 offensive aspects that are staples for a bonespear necromancer are Edge Masters, Grasping Veins, and Serration, of which the first 2 are also obtainable through the Codex of Power, which is again good news because you can get them guaranteed. And what that really means is that you can get a bonespear necromancer set up and start gearing towards the end game setup as well very early on in your adventure. And then I've personally gotten Regeneration a bunch of times so far, so I definitely think that this aspect drops a lot in the world from random mobs, so it shouldn't be too hard to get either. And these 4 aspects are aspects that you'll want to run for your bonespear necromancer for any level really, up to level 100. And as you may or may not know, a necromancer doesn't really have ways to enhance its movement speed or even teleport or dash like other classes, so I would definitely get movement speed as a stat on both your boots and amulet, and get extra evade charges on your boots in this leveling bracket, just to give you a nice boost to your movement speed, which means you will move faster from A to B, and that is obviously nice because more movement speed means faster leveling. Next to the evade charges, make sure to put the Windstriker aspect on your boots as well. This aspect helps out tremendously with enhancing your movement speed, and it's a Codex of Power aspect. Then we get to the final bracket of level 50 to level 70 and everything higher, because at that point you have entered the end game. From that point onwards it's just doing the same thing over and over essentially till you get level 100. And this is also when you unlock World Tier 4. I would definitely try to do the capstone dungeon for unlocking World Tier 4 somewhere in the early level 60s, so you can get ancestral gear faster. The Bonespear Necromancer is strong enough to do that, but in terms of our abilities, nothing really changes that much. You can now replace the basic attack, however, with Blood Mist, which in turn will be your get out of jail for free card. That will be our 6th ability now. It is an incredible defensive ability. It helps tremendously for our survivability, as it cleanses us from any negative status effect, like poison for example. It also regenerates our HP and makes us immune as well, which means we can use it as a tool to break from any CC in the game. So all in all, it is an incredible defensive ability with nice utility that you definitely want to use. As you see in the footage, I'm completing nightmare dungeons with enemies quite some levels higher than me, because yeah, that is what I like, as part of the leveling process. And Bonespear Necro just shreds these enemies even if they are much higher level. But for your chest and pants, however, you can definitely equip some defensive aspects at this point, so you can sustain a lot of the incoming damage as well. I would recommend Disobedience and Protector for some nice defenses. You can put them on your chest and pants. Shield Storm is also good, but it's not a Codex of Power unlike the other two, so if you can get it to drop, then I would definitely use it, however, instead of Protector. Which also brings me to the final point. At this point, you definitely want to get either Umbral with a good roll or Exposed Flash and put it on your other ring, whichever you can get first really. Either aspects helps out tremendously with Essence Regeneration, as now Corpse Explosion isn't that great anymore for Essence Regeneration. Outside of that, you should be now comfortably leveling from 60-70 onwards, and at this point with actual gear and you starting to get ancestral gear, it is going to be even easier clearing entire rooms than in the first 70 levels. And regarding bosses, boss kills, well, bosses are melted so insanely fast with this build, it's just kind of funny. Before you enter the fight, the boss is already dead essentially. So really, like I said at the start of the video, this is a perfect build to level with if you want to level as a necromancer. Now let's get into the skill tree and the leveling strategy regarding the skills and how you want to pick them and in which order you want to pick these talents and skills. So at the skill tree, we obviously are going to start off with our basic attack, Bone Splinters. Then we take 1 point into Enhanced Bone Splinter, and then we will unlock the core skills, which means we unlock our Bone Spear. And Bone Spear, obviously we're going to go all out on. It's our main ability. First of all, we're taking Enhanced Bone Spear into Supernatural Bone Spear. Later on, we will switch out Supernatural Bone Spear for Paranormal Bonespear, but at this point in time you won't really have a good way of applying vulnerability on your enemy. So Supernatural Bonespear kinda fixes that problem and helps us out with applying vulnerability on our enemies even at like level 5. After taking Supernatural Bone Spear, we go back to our basic attack and get Acolyte's Bone Splinters. Helps us out with giving us extra critical strike chance, which is nice at this point in time because yeah, we will have pretty much no critical strike chance whatsoever. Then we're level 7, so that means we unlock this subtree. We take Corpse Explosion into 3 points into Grim Harvest, which is going to be our Essence Regeneration tool at this point in time. And with that we go back and fully max out our Bone Spear. We have a way to regenerate our essence quite easily, and we have a way to apply vulnerability through Supernatural Bone Spear, so we just max out Bone Spear right now. And with maxing out Bone Spear, our main ability, we have a really hard hitting Bone Spear that will just quickly erase any enemy really, so it's nice to max it out at this point in time, at only level 15 by the way. At level 15 we also have the opportunity to get Iron Maiden into Enhanced Iron Maiden, and Enhanced Iron Maiden is what I've talked about earlier in this video. This will make it so that we can actually regenerate essence through our Iron Maiden, and with this we have now 2 different methods to regenerate our essence as a Bone Spear Necro. video early on. At level 17 we unlock the next subtree, which includes the very powerful corpse tendrils. This is going to be our CC, and it's going to be our method of gathering all the mobs in the room essentially to go to one spot, so we can just nuke them all at once with our bone spear instead of having to go all around the room and targeting individual mobs with our bone spear. No, we just use corpse tendrils and nuke the entire pack in one go. And then we go ahead and take enhanced corpse tendrils into plagued corpse tendrils. And with this we now have a better way of making our enemies vulnerable. After getting corpse tendrils, you want to go ahead and go back to Hued Flesh, get 3 points into this, and with this talent we will be able to make corpses at the ground without having to kill our targets, just based on a lucky hit. So this is nice versus bosses mostly, because we won't have corpses laying around from that mob, so having the chance to spawn corpses by just attacking bosses is nice. And this way of thinking of mine is obviously also what the intention of the game is, since it doubles the chance of this talent proccing against bosses if you read that last line. After getting 3 points in Hued Flesh, since we will spam corpse explosion all the time for that essence, take 3 points in Fueled by Death, and this will increase our damage every time essentially for free when we consume a corpse, so it just synergizes very well with Grim Harvest. At this point in time we have also unlocked the ultimate tree, so get our Bone Storm for our 6th ability, fully spec it out, and with this ability added to our kit, our damage output will become even better. After getting Bone Storm we will be level 29, so we go back to this tree, get 1 point into this talent, which acts as a pathway to the next talent, Imperfectly Balanced, just a really nice talent that will enhance our core skills, and thus Bone Spear with a nice multiplicative bonus of 15% increased damage. Then we have 1 more point before we can get our key passive, and you want to put this point into Death's Embrace. At level 34 we can get our key passive, and there's only one option right here for our key passive. It's going to be Ossified Essence. This is the only one that actually synergizes with Bone Skills, aka our Bone Spear, and it's just a nice tool to make us deal more damage to our targets based on the amount of essence that we have. Now after getting our key passive, we go ahead and go back once more. We go ahead and fully max out on Death's Embrace, and now at this point in time you're level 36. Somewhere in the level 30s to level 40s you will get your Splinterings aspect, and that means we don't need Supernatural Bone Spear anymore, so we remove the point here and put it into Paranormal Bone Spear. This talent will essentially transform our Bone Spear in a Super Saiyan version, adding 2 shards to it when it returns to you when you crit, and that means extra damage. With the increased critical strike chance that we get from this talent, we can go ahead and go to these talents now and get them. First we just take 1 point Incineration, into 1 point into Compound Fracture, into 3 points into Evulsion. And Evulsion is really nice because it ramps up our critical strike damage to vulnerable enemies, which at this point in time we will have multiple ways of applying vulnerability on our enemies. Most notably is the Plagued Corpse Tendrils, but also our aspect Splintering that I talked about earlier in this video and said that you should put it on your two-handed weapon to get that 100% bonus as well. So it's just a really strong talent, and it will enhance our damage output incredibly. After getting Evulsion, you want to finish off Serration for that increased critical strike chance, into 3 points into Compound Fracture. All of them will help out with our damage output. You're level 45 at this point in time, so you have your 3 sacrifices. You have your Iron Golem sacrifice as well. So you take 1 point into Stand Alone, into 3 points into Memento Mori, which is a really good talent by the way. It will enhance our sacrifice bonuses with a whopping 60%, so it adds a lot of power to the build, but you definitely don't want to get it too early, like before level 32. You want to get it at like this point in time when you have your 3 sacrifices, and you're actually getting more critical strike chance, so you can actually crit our enemies, and with that make the sacrifice bonus that we have for Iron Golems, for example, which enhances our critical strike damage even better with Momentum Mori. So there are multiple factors that come into play for which point in time you actually want to take this talent, but I would say that around level 45 is a good spot to take 3 points into this talent. Now after that we're level 49. When we go back, we finish off Iron Maiden, get that abhorrent Iron Maiden, helps out with survivability, and we take 3 points into amplified damage and 3 points into Death's Reach. Taking 6 points into these talents will amplify our damage output significantly. If you get it, you get it. Then we have 3 more points, and we just put those 3 points into Corpse Tendrils. It will reduce the cooldown and it makes it deal a little bit more damage. It's a nice investment of those 3 final points. But we're actually going to max out Corpse Tendrils, because at this point in time you should get your ring with an Umbral or Exposed Flesh for Essence Regeneration, and Grim Harvest just really becomes not that great anymore. So you can remove 2 points from here, not all 3, because you need that 1 point to actually access Fueled by Death. And we just max out Corpse Tendrils, and with that we have a really beefy Corpse Tendrils. Then when you're at this point in time, we can now also remove our basic skill and get Blood Mist for that survivability and unstoppable and immunity and basically everything. As earlier described, Blood Mist will be insane for our survivability. And with that, we have now completed the skill tree and the order in which you want to take these talents and skills. And yeah, this is what it will look like. Let's now move on to the Paragon boards. Regarding the Paragon board for a leveling guide, we can be really short because there's only one board that you truly need to get as soon as possible. Obviously, after finishing off the starting board. For the starting board, you want to take Sacrificial, gives us a nice 10% increased damage while we have no active minions. And look at that, we will never have active minions because we use sacrifices and we are a bonespear necro. Other notes of importance in this board is Prime, extra damage, extra maximum life, Preservation, Armor, Intelligence, and Knowledge, Damage, and Intelligence. And some of these magic notes that enhance our damage output as well are also really nice to get. You want a path like this, first to the right and then essentially to the left to the next board. And here is where a major board comes into play. You want to take the Bonecraft Paragon board, and this Paragon board is the one and only Paragon board in the game that you definitely want to run when you run a bonespear or any bone skill oriented build, because there's so much utility and useful notes in this board. It is crazy. Now for the glyph, I took Essence. Just makes our critical strikes deal more damage to enemies that are not healthy, helps out tremendously with bosses but also with elites and stuff, and 22% for a multiplicative bonus is a really significant and beefy number. So Essence it is, we definitely want to take it as soon as possible. Now like I said, in this board there's a lot of good things. First of all, these magic notes that give you extra essence and essence on kill helps out tremendously with our essence maintainment essentially, and then also the rare note plus 16 maximum essence and another 2 essence on kill. Definitely get all of these 6 different nodes as soon as possible. Basically rotate the board like this so you can get them right here as soon as possible, and then you just pad up to the glyph like this. Yeah, just like how I did it. Then here are also some other good nodes. The rare node and Tomb gives us extra critical strike chance, extremely relevant and extremely good, as well as these magical nodes that give us extra critical strike damage. And we definitely take the legendary node because extra damage and extra maximum essence is just too good. And later on you also want to get Calcified as well as Tenacity. The Calcified nodes and surrounding nodes enhance our critical strike damage and our bone skill damage, and then Tenacity and the surrounding nodes help out with survivability. But before you take those notes, you probably want to take the next Paragon board first with a glyph. I went with Corporeal for my glyph in the next board. Reason being is because Bonespear is of the physical damage type, as indicated in the description. Corporeal gives us a nice multiplicative bonus to our physical damage, and with that gives us a nice bonus to our Bonespear. So just a good glyph in my opinion. And then for the board that I went for the third board is the Scent of Death. Now Scent of Death will always proc because we either have corpus nearby or we don't have corpus nearby. So we get always a bonus from this legendary node. There's no condition where we don't get anything from this node essentially. Since this is meant to be a leveling guide and not really an endgame guide, and we're now going towards level 80 in terms of having the points for unlocking all these nodes, I would say that this is a good cutoff point for this video specifically, as you have a good indication of how to progress the Paragon boards and the most important Paragon boards and nodes that you should aim for after reaching level 50. And with that, you now know everything you need to know to level a Necromancer in a very fast, fun, easy, and smooth way. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to like, subscribe, do all that stuff, you know how it works, and let me know your thoughts in the comments.